What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. My name is Brennan Tassif. I'll be your host. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch-store. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll put the shorts up there, the full video, the whole thing. Thank you so much for listening. I love it. I hope you love it. Subscribe on Patreon, too. We do bonus episodes. I do Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on and whether they're assholes or not, which is super fun. Also, we do a pre-show banter for my other show, Cheers from the Press Box with Joe Dorville. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on over there, too. Make sure you just subscribe everywhere, just all over the place. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not leaving the mean comments, thank you for that. Maybe leave a couple nice ones.
Grab me your beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. Used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with someone and reminisce about the crazy old days. This week is no exception. All the way from Portland, Oregon?
Yes, sir.
Mandy Simonson.
Oh, my God. Hold your applause. Don't do it. Thanks. I like to say by way of San Francisco Bay Area because that's where I'm from.
It's an interesting thing because you live in Portland. You
Yeah.
talk about living in Portland on
Yeah,
stage.
because that's where I started doing comedy.
But then when anybody ever asks about like
redirect.
Portland, you're always like, well, I'm from San Francisco.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I love Portland, but I have a personality. So I want them to know like where it came from. You know, that's why.
Before we get too far into anything, plug everything up front. You have a podcast that you do. Any dates coming out? This will come out in a couple weeks.
Oh,
so.
I'm going on a date tonight. Thank you for asking.
Oh.
No, I'm not. I actually declined. I couldn't do it. But I have a podcast with my co-host Lisa Rimmert, and it's called Late to the Game. Mm-hmm. You can find it on all the platforms. It's pretty fun. And then...
what do you guys talk about on that?
We're late to the game in things. She's in her 40s and I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
But I look younger than her, so it's just... but we talk about things that maybe we didn't know about or we're just getting started. Like I started comedy in my late 40s, so and she started later. So just things that we might not be great at or we're really good at and other people are late about. So it's
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's an awesome idea too because as someone who started comedy at 22 but then took so many breaks because of drugs and alcohol and stuff, I didn't really get back into it until I was 30.
Yeah.
And then you run into this thing where you're looking around and you're like, oh, fuck.
I'm better looking than everybody. No, it's true. But I think for me it's nice because it's nice to come into it with a perspective of a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
And also being financially stable is fun.
Yay. Hey.
That's just a different aspect of comedy.
I don't know about that, obviously.
Right. No,
since
that's
we're
why I brought it up.
this.
Because we're in your room. I'm like, am I going to get raped after this? I want it.
Well,
It's not rape. So.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Tell
Jesus that. Okay.
It is an interesting. It's an interesting thing though because, like I say it all the time. When I first moved to New York, I was good. Like I was the comic where when all the comics would go out, I'd be like, I got it, guys.
I'll got your keys.
When we go to Chipotle, I would like put down the card and be like, I'm gonna get these 3 people, and everyone was like, what?
Covering him at Chipotle? Stop flexing, you little bitch.
It's a little bit of a flex. So, but
add a queso. I got you.
You know, you want some guac? Let's do some guac.
And then you're like, I hope everybody doesn't order the guac.
But then it got to a point where, because, you know, I was raised in a family where it's all about perception.
Yeah.
Like if people think you're doing well, then you're doing well.
Oh.
So it got to a point, though, after the breakup and moving out and like having to spend all that money and maxing out credit cards, I was like,
this isn't as fun.
So when I first moved to New York, I was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, like all this like struggling stuff.
I don't get it.
And then like I guess a year and a half in, I was like, can I have some more, please?
Yeah, can anyone buy me Chipotle?
Yeah, right. But you, went a different route.
It's hard being rich as shit. No, it's just I'm able to pay my bills fine, and so I'm like, let me do this the other way around.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that it gives me more opportunities. Like I've been in New York for a month.
Yeah.
I mean, playing around. And so I was a police officer and I got medically retired from that. So I have a pension. I know everybody wants to hear that. They're like, we're so glad the police are being supported through their whole life with a pension. But that's, and I got medical coverage for the rest of my life. So you can cut me and I'll be able to get it covered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, go ahead.
Full medical.
Anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Who wants to marry me?
There you go.
No
Put
one.
it out there.
So I
What brought you into comedy though? Because like you said,
I'm
you were
fucking funny.
you are very funny. You're hilarious.
Thank you.
That's the reason we have you on the podcast.
All right. Well, I was told differently, but
That's right. It's in the room.
we'll talk about it later. My husband left the marriage.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh my God, I'm so sad for you. And I'm like, yeah, it sucked. But I wouldn't change anything now. You know the whole, I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Yeah.
I just was like, I've always wanted to do it. People have always encouraged, oh, you should do stand-up comedy. And it's like, okay, what is it?
Did you know, like, were you watching comedy and stuff like that?
Not tons. I just always bantered with friends.
Yeah.
And I've always had an opportunity to be funny in scenarios where I shouldn't be. Yeah. They're like, we're at
breaking
church.
in the door and you're like making a joke.
Freeze. Well, we didn't wave guns at people. We just put them right in their face. You know? But eliminate the middleman and just go for it. And I was like, don't waste my time. Get in here. I was like, why not? My life has already changed hugely with the breakup of my marriage. And I was like, I should do an open mic. So I did one, and I was like...
This is in Portland.
Yeah. I was like... Well, I always said if I write a set, anytime, whatever that means, I'll do an open mic. And one night, I got a little high.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I wrote a set. I didn't know what it meant. I wrote it on a mask.
What do you mean you wrote it on?
COVID.
Oh, like a COVID mask.
We were out. Sorry. I don't know how much we want to spend on this, so I don't.
No, all
this
of it.
is the podcast.
That's what...
I'm like, let's get started in the other stuff. He's like, this is it. I was out. A friend is a singer, and she was out at a show, and she was up there on stage, and I was like, I wish she would shut up so I could get up there, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, when am I going to ever do this if I don't do it? My life is already really weird right now. I don't have no firm footing. Like, why not? So I wrote the set on a mask.
Just high out of your mind.
Yeah, well, let's not get crazy. I was a sativa edible, 5
okay,
milligrams.
I'm sorry.
So I was like,
I'm sorry.
I was like, I'm horny a little bit, just a touch. And yeah, I'm like, oh, I want to fuck somebody. And then I wrote on a mask, edited it, and then the next day I did an open mic, and it was like one of those magical, like, this is the start of my life.
Yeah, it went well? How did you actually do at the mic?
It's great.
Did you?
It's fucking fantastic.
You crushed?
I'm not going to say that.
You crushed. I always find that it's fascinating because there are
two people. I mean, I figured it was a crowd. It was great. It was
but
fantastic.
it is one of those things where it always comes down to, you know, there's a fork in the yellow wood or whatever the Robert Frost poem is.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. But
there are people who crush and there are people who bomb.
Yeah, well, I'm not a loser.
So I bombed my first open mic because I'm a loser. Yeah, it was rough.
Listen, I mean...
Did you have like a lot of friends there? Did you invite a bunch of people?
No, one. No way. Well, thanks for thinking it was familial support that got me through the crush. He's like, it's probably your mom and dad that were like, great job.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I have a confidence about me.
You do. You do.
For everyone. They're like, how big is your dick? And I'm like, it's tiny, but I still have confidence.
You do have a lot of confidence.
I don't mean to be. I just...
well, even we were hanging out at a mic, what was that, last week?
Feels like just
and
yesterday.
You just started riffing. And I was like, oh, she's off. Here she goes.
That's where I'm better. I'm like, let's have material so you can do it. It goes fine. And then you're like, and. Yes, and.
Yeah, it was great.
Fun.
So that was only, like you said, only a couple years ago.
Yeah, and then the next month after I did the mic, I came to New York City.
And that's where we met.
To do mics. It was a little bit that I came again.
Oh, okay. So
because I'm like, New York needs me.
Yeah. What are they doing without you?
They need big open micers out there.
So
I met some friends, some other comedians through that mic, and then they just...
So when was this? What's the timeline?
October 2021 is when I started.
Okay.
November, Thanksgiving time is when I came back to do mics.
Okay.
Then I made some connections, and then I was like, I'm really good at this, so I just kept
Yeah,
going.
because we would have met around, because I moved here in
I think
July
it
of
was the
21.
that summer that I came for
Yeah.
a month. I lived in the West Village.
And then I saw you
We
at
were like
a
at
show.
and I think we were sitting near each other, and
We
we
were
both
at a
had our
show.
notebooks out or some
We were
dorky
at-
do.
yeah, we were at a show
at
at
a
the
table,
cellar,
and I was
at
like,
the
"Get your hand
table.
off my leg."
That doesn't go there. Yeah,
we
and
know where it
then,
goes. Oops.
I think we both went by ourselves.
Yeah,
And so we ended
because we
up-
were studying the art.
Yeah, of course. And
Not-
then we ended up getting sat like right next to each other,
Yeah.
and near each other.
Yeah.
And then we started chatting the shit. And then
I think one of us had a notebook out. Probably
you had the notebook out,
No,
I think, because
you.
I don't carry a notebook.
Well, that's why you're not funny. Yeah, no. And one of us was like, "Do you do comedy?" It's like this, like, "Are you a comedian?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this for 8 months, so yeah."
Yeah.
I
Hey.
have like 2 big girl shows I got booked on. So it's like, obviously-
Big girl shit.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I say it all the time. I say it on stage, and it's kind of a bit, but I did 2 open mics within the span of like a month. I did like one, and then a couple weeks later, I did another, and then I immediately changed all my social media to Brent NT Comedy, and this is like in 2009.
That's the swagger we need, people.
And then, but then I would take like these, if not 6 months to a year break from
Yeah.
doing it.
They call them benders, but
And
okay.
yeah, and then bitches, yeah. But then people would be like, "You do comedy, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do."
Have you seen my Instagram page? Of course I do.
I think I'm probably one of the best comedians out there.
Just ask my mom.
She loves it.
She does
love it.
She's like, he needs a purpose.
Dad, not so much.
So,
Mom
well,
loves it.
yeah, there's one or the other. Both my parents love me, so that's where the confidence comes from. But
So you come to New York, and then at the time you're done. You're done with the police force. You
I medically retired.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that back up. I
Well,
thought we buried that.
I
kind
kinda
of
wanna talk about-
Oh, whoopsie daisy. Yeah, I medically retired like in 2010.
Okay.
So it's
okay. So
been
it
a
was
minute.
while.
I mean, I
yeah.
still got my skills,
Yeah. You know.
but it's. And I was raised my dad was Oakland police.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, in
He
Oakland.
was a homicide investigator for a long time. And
Did you
did
ever
lots
see any
stuff.
of those?
Well, he brought dead bodies home. He's like, "You guys, I
really?
have to bring work home." No. I saw this. Don't look. I have to do some work.
Well, it's just because you see those shows where it's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
The daughter sneaks into his office
Right.
and sees all the pictures, and she's like, and
Oh,
then she
no.
grows up to become,
Yeah, ours.
Clarice from
yeah.
Silence.
Well, I love a fava bean. That's
Just on fire today.
Thank you. This is every day, Brennan. This is what comedians do. We're funny all the time. It was always part of our growing up. Like, my dad would take our local Boy Scout troop to the Oakland City Jail to get a little scared straight moment.
Okay.
Like, he would pull people over on the way to church because he needed money. I mean, it was just always part of our life. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up, my dad was a cop. That
Yeah.
was it. But my dad is a gentle giant. You wouldn't know. I mean, he carries handcuffs all the time, but you wouldn't know. He doesn't.
Does
My
he-
mom does. No.
Were you, those are the fuzzy ones with the pink. Did
That's my mom. Don't be gross. They're purple. But it's always part of our life.
But that's what I was gonna say. So did you, from a young age, like you knew you wanted to get into law enforcement?
No, I knew I wanted to do a job where it wasn't the same every day.
Okay.
And then I graduated from college because we're rich. And then we're not rich. When we were like heavily middle class.
Yeah.
And my mom was
Heavily middle class.
strong middle class, upper middle.
No, heavily
we were
middle
wealthy.
class is now the name of this episode.
I know, because I'm upper middle class now. Don't put me in a box, Brennan.
Thank you for your tax
No, like,
dollars
don't
at
put me in a
work.
box after this. Literally. My mom was a child welfare worker growing up, and I thought I would be a social worker.
Okay.
And then clearly, I don't have any empathy, so I couldn't do it. She was like,
Just imagine people coming in like crying, like we need
Yeah.
help, and you're like, get a job, you lazy
suck
piece
it
of
up,
shit."
buttercup.
Yeah.
You know?
Just doing Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah. Is this thing on? They're like, this is uncomfortable.
This is inappropriate.
Stop beating your kids. Like, I don't know.
Your kids get no respect.
Yeah. That's because you make them sleep in a closet. So she, sorry, I'll be more serious.
No, this is great.
I can't be.
That's what the show's about.
Thank you. So my mom's like, come to work with me for a couple days because she's like, you're a bitch. You can't do this.
Yeah.
But my mom's very kind and nice. She would never say that. But in her head, she was like, and
There's
then
no way you
I
could.
would have still had to get my master's degree.
Okay.
And I was like,
Where did you go to college?
UC Davis in California. Near Sacramento, but we're not Sac State. Gross. Don't mix them up. Gross. Sack the sacks. And so she's like, come to work with me. I went for like 2 days. She had to like kiss a lot of people's butts and not get paid any money. I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And so.
And then your dad said come to work for a day, and he's just taking drugs out of houses, pocketing some cash, and you're like, this is what I want to do.
I like bossing people around. This feels right. For what, the transition just became, police academy. I kind of just got hired, and then at 24.
Did you enjoy?
I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah. I know you're not allowed to say that.
No, I mean I
loved it. It was a good fit for me. But then ultimately, I mean, we can talk about police work. Ultimately, I got pregnant. I had to leave for maternity leave. I had my daughter like 2.5 months premature. I brought her home for a month, and then I got diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I was like, this seems great. Is there a baby shower for that?
Worst.
Bring your nipples. Your friend will need them. I was like, this seems like women complaining about pregnancy. I was like, okay, Susan, sit down. Let's.
How did the diagnosis come down? How did you find out?
There was a big old lump, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, I can break it down.
Well, no,
I had pain in my armpit.
I'm just curious because it's just one of those things where I didn't know, like being pregnant, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you would just chalk up to, oh, I'm pregnant. That's what this is.
We thought it was, have you heard of mastitis?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have it? Or?
No, I don't have it, but I was raised by women. And
okay, because it's a plugged milk duct, so I was like, you look like you might have had it. Just kidding. Oh my! Stop! Listen, I can't. This is my tummy fat, so I can't do that. But if you tickle me, I'll kick your ass. That's one of my.
Do you have your handcuffs?
Mm-hmm. We'll talk later.
Always have your handcuffs.
So yeah, I had a pain in my armpit, and then it led to. We thought it was a plugged milk duct, maybe, and then. Antibiotics, and then whoopsie daisy, it's a tumor.
Oh,
yeah.
And
I talk about this in my comedy.
Yeah, are you fully in remission now?
I hope so. It's been 18 years. I'm like, I should have sex before I die and find out, but I don't. I don't know what that meant. I'm just trying to get laid. This is more of an advertisement.
Got a lot of listeners in the Portland area.
Yeah, they're gross. So I don't.
You'll be home when this comes out.
I know. They're still gross. They know.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you know. Here. It's the outlying areas, you guys. It's not Portland. Can be. I'm talking to you. Can be. It is a city called Can be. And anyway, yeah, that was my journey. So I got medically retired from police work. I mean, there's a lot in between there.
Yeah, obviously.
And then because
how's your daughter now?
This show's about me. So.
Okay.
She's
but she's doing
turning
good?
19 next month.
God, that's
and then I have a 15-year-old daughter too, and she's adopted from Ethiopia.
Yep, that's.
I'm a hero. That's okay. You can say it.
You just,
I have
you brought up your daughter from Ethiopia at the mic.
That's good.
And then you just started slinging.
Oh my God.
Talking to the 3 black comics.
I was like, I thought I'd get support from you. They're like, oh God.
And you just unload it.
Listen, it's already a charged topic. Let's dig in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not allowed to do that in Portland, so I have to do it here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So
it's not true. Portland, I don't like you much.
No, but that's what because we brought this up at the beginning, and it's something that is very interesting to me because I'm from Florida, born and raised. And, well, technically I was born in Ohio, but that's beside the point. I've lived in Florida since I was 3 weeks old.
Yeah, sure.
So it's just one of those things where I don't have. Like this, but that.
Yeah, you don't compare.
Yeah.
This is your big comparison.
Yeah. So it's like people, but even in New York, because it's so transient, people are like, where are you from? And I just go, oh, Florida.
Yeah.
But for you, because like we were talking about at the beginning, you live in
I'm
Portland,
diverse.
but you always say I'm from San Francisco.
It's just because it's fun.
I know, but there is something to it
that.
Where it's like, so what brought you moved to Portland for your ex-husband, right?
Yeah, wow, we're going to talk about that a lot. I would have... shaved.
Only because you brought it up in your anything. This is the way.
It's fair game.
This is the way I do it. Anytime
don't do a mic with Brennan.
Anytime someone says something on stage, I'm like, oh well, then they're open to talk.
I'm an
about
open
book.
We moved up there just for a different life with the kids. Yeah. And Bay Area is very expensive.
But you didn't want to move back?
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids are still finishing school there, and my ex apparently wants to see the kids, so he wants them to be around.
Gross.
But I don't diss Portland. I'm just teasing. It's a great place, and it's a great place for me to be in comedy.
That's what I was going to ask.
People are very kind.
That's kind of leading up.
Yeah.
to
Well, I read what you were laying down, Brennan.
There you go.
People are. For me, the comedy scene is very welcoming and stuff. And people are always like, "Well, you get what you give," and I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm amazing because they've been really nice to me." I don't know that they know what to do with me. They're like, when will this little bitch go away? And I'm like, hey.
Yeah, because you're not going anywhere. I mean, I
got a couple more years in Portland. For sure. I don't know. I don't know what life.
Well, and also
will
it's
lead
just
me.
one of those things where you're like, oh, I found the thing that I want to do now, so
I think
I'm gonna be here.
I've been questioning. I question. It's the why the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Girl,
who are you telling?
Ooh, you.
These windows open all the way. You know how many times I put my head out there and
we
just stare
about
down?
to take a leap. It's like
just go. Is it worth
why
it?
not? Like, I mean, we do have parachutes on, but it's the whole wild ride. It's like why am I doing this? And it's like because I need the validation.
Well, and then you crush it at a show, and you're like, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. I mean, people are like, how'd you do the show? It's like, what am I going to be like? I fucking crushed it. I'm like, I got some good laughs.
You
killed it.
You can't say
I did well.
Yeah. So this is the thing.
Wouldn't I look like a douche if I was like, I fucking tore it up?
Yeah, that would be so douchey. Who would ever say something like that? I've only ever crushed like where I got off stage and I was like, oh, I crushed. Only a few times.
That's sad.
And I say that because like a lot, like I did it in New York at Greenwich Village. At a mic. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was but it's just one of those things where when it happens, I think a lot of people say they crush because they don't know what real crushing is.
That's what I mean. Like, why would I? I'm like, yeah. And people are like, I heard some of the jokes. They weren't great. It's like, wow, Mom.
Yeah, right? But I've had it, like I say it, I've said it before, but when I did my going away show in Jacksonville, a bunch of friends came out and everything. I can't remember if it was that show or a different show,
Sure.
but we did it at the same spot all the time. And I just remember when they introduced me, the stage was shaking because people were so high. And then everything I said just worked.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, this is what crushing feels like.
Could it be they were excited you were leaving?
Yeah, probably. But it's just one of those things where I was like, oh, that's the feeling. So then even if I do really well on a set, I'll come on, people go, dude, you killed. And I'm like, it was good.
I mean, it's one of those, you can't say it about yourself, but you can think like, whoa, that went really well.
Yeah.
Now it's like you record your set and then you go back and watch and you're like, that was a more tepid response than it felt like up there.
I thought they were howling. It was more of a yawning.
Why was everybody sleeping?
I had that last night. I had a set at the stand and I did really well. But then I was like, oh, I want to work in some of this new material I've been working on.
Yeah.
And I closed on a brand new bit, like not even worked out. And I closed on it, and it got like a tepid response, and I was like, "That was a fucking terrible idea."
Should have sandwiched. We call it in the biz.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I sandwiched 2 other bits in there.
Should we explain to the listeners?
Yeah. So for all of those listening, take it away, Mandy.
A sandwich is when you do a tried and true up top, you do a squishy new bit in the middle, and then you wrap it up with a good one.
Boom.
Hey.
Make a little sandwich.
Yeah. I mean, I call it different in Portland, but.
Hey-o. But I had a couple new things that I sandwiched, but then I was like, oh, I've got it.
I know.
This crowd is mine.
I mean, there's a phrase for it that they use. Being cocky.
I got a little too cocky.
I do too. I don't. I'm not gonna say it on the podcast. No, I don't love to do mics. I don't do a lot of them. I only do them here because I'm like New York needs me. But I.
I might change it to New York Needs Me.
The name of no. They're like, we don't. Please leave, chubby middle class lady.
Heavily middle class.
Heavily chubby. Oh.
What?
I'm constantly writing. I'm constantly trying to get better. That's mostly why I'm here, is to, like I was saying before we went on the air, is to watch the best and watch the pace here is what I like. And to me, Portland's a slower pace. It's more cerebral. It's more not politically charged jokes, but more. I see more of that there. Yeah. And that's not how I do comedy because I don't know how to be funny like that.
Yeah.
And like I watched Caitlin Paloofa last night. I've seen her a
Love
bunch of
Caitlin,
times.
friend of the show. She's been on the spot.
Caitlin, I know you have a boyfriend, and I'm not gay, but marry me.
Steven Rogers.
Yeah, I did know that, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to out her like a dick. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You actually leaned on me at the Fat Black Pussycat last night before the set because there was something funny that happened. I'm in. But you and Lisa Traeger last night.
Oh, love
Girl, please come on the pod. Mine, late to the game. Not this one. Anyway, they were.
No, I'm just kidding. God, how funny.
Yeah.
That was the joke. I had to take it.
Thank you. It wasn't that great. You didn't crush it. So anyway.
Well, this is fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
See you guys later.
I guess we'll.
Is this your Emmy?
No, this is my Jacksonville's Comedy Podcast of the Year award.
I can read. I was just kidding.
Can you? Copper? Hello.
Rich? I'm not rich.
You can read them the rights.
Yeah. I don't read.
That's actually my drag name, Miranda Wrights.
Oh, I thought it was I don't read. I was like, it's not catchy at all. You should change it.
Miranda.
And the fact that you have a drag name, I can see it.
I've done a few drag shows.
I can see it in your hip swish when you
yeah.
escorted me in. Also, he's wearing a corset. So.
Yeah, gotta look good
suck
for
it
the
in.
pod.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm
Yeah.
here watching comedy and just watching them riff. That's my strength, and so just watching them do it, and it's like allowing yourself to say, it's okay if my set is messy. It's okay because I have material and I can weave back in and out of it, and just it. You kind of have to get permission in your head from other people that you watch and go, they do it. The crowd freaking enjoyed it.
Yep.
I love it. Lean into it. I needed more permission from myself to lean into how I am funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of why I
because
came
that's
here.
it's an interesting point you bring up because I'm more of a high energy kind of a person. So
Me too.
yeah. So, but it is interesting because there's sometimes you'll do a room, and I'm sure we all go through this, but I'm sure it's like the same everywhere, where the room can be somewhat intimidating. And then you're kind of like, this might be too big for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe whatever. That imposter syndrome that can seep in.
Yes, of course.
And then you get that one, like this happened last night at the stand. I kind of got thrown on the show at the last second.
Yeah.
And then I got up and, I've done that room 1,000 times. But I did my first bit and
It's
the
not
lady.
been 1,000, but.
No, it was like 17. The lady in the front started laughing really hard though. And I was like, oh, yeah, like we do this all the time. So then you start moving and walking around.
Yeah.
Because when I originally got up there, I kind of pulled the mic out and I was like, hey, everybody. Like, and then when she started laughing, I was like, oh, yeah, this is what we do. Let's go.
I'm here for this,
Yeah.
for the laughter. I don't get intimidated in a room. I can psych myself up sort of in the days leading up to the show.
Yeah.
That's where my imposter syndrome comes in. That's where, like, some of the chastising, like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing this? You're a mom. You're a lady. You're a lady. Like, you've never said one funny thing in your life because it's so insular. And, like, when you're walking around in your head, like, doing the jokes, you're like, oh, that's gonna be a good one. And then you're like, why would that be funny?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
I do it all the time.
And it turns out there's open mics to work that out, and I don't want to do them.
Yeah, I don't. So you don't do a lot of them in Portland?
Sorry. I just try stuff.
I say it all the time. I had been doing comedy to the point where when I got here, I thought, because like I said, it was on and off. So, and I've talked about this before. My official started comedy was in 2009 in July. But I didn't really get back into comedy until 2018 when I got sober. So technically,
you're like a different person.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a totally different person. So
Yeah.
if we really want to mince words, you could say I've been doing comedy for 6 years because that's when I really started treating it like a job.
Right.
But when I got here, I started going to mics, and I've talked about this before, but it's interesting because you're coming from out of town. I was like, these are good if you have brand new stuff, but it also can be detrimental because it's only comics at the mics in New York, and they laugh at the most horrific shit. So if you get a big laugh at a mic, a lot of the times you're like, well, I can't use that at a show ever.
Oh, I don't feel that way.
Oh, really? Because I've noticed sometimes
Teasing the black people in the audience, I love that. I do that all the time.
That's not, I meant more on the lines of rape jokes and suicide jokes and stuff like that.
Well, what I learned doing that Greenwich mic where you were there.
You were like, no teasing black.
That's where I shine. Sorry, everybody. Did I remind you I'm a mom? I'm a lady.
Yeah. And your daughter is from Ethiopia.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up again.
You can say that.
Hero. What I learned from doing those mics here is it's for me, the material is what it is, and I'm not there to I wonder if this joke is funny. I'm learning it's just as funny the reaction I get from whether or not the joke is funny.
Yeah.
So how I recover, how I dig in, how I like watching Lisa Traeger last night. Like if she felt like something didn't go well, even though it went well, she would be like, "Oh, I guess you guys don't like Holocaust survivors or whatever the you know."
The rebound.
Yeah, the rebound is, and that's where the gold was for me doing the mics here. Is I don't have to really worry. Okay, the material, I want it to be solid. It's my reaction to it that gets me the most laughs.
Yeah.
And that's where it's the most fun for me,
That's
too.
actually a very good point, because a lot of times, like if I have a set coming, and that's the other fucking thing here too, is like in Florida, it was just all of our friends were putting on shows, so we all just did shows.
Yeah.
And then you move to New York and you're like, oh, I'm on a show at the Stand or at the Cellar or at, New York Comedy Club. And it's like, yeah, but it's still just a produced show from a front. But like in my head,
changed.
You're exactly right. Nothing has changed except the way I perceive it.
Well, the stakes feel a bit higher.
But are they?
Well, because you don't want to be doing a shitty job in front of people that you like.
That's true. 100%.
That's
like you could still, like I was talking about it with Matt Bowman on here a couple weeks ago. There are still times where like comics that I love and respect will come into a room and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fucking murder this set, and then you bomb, and then I bomb it just because it just wasn't the right. Like
that's a man's courage. That's and I'm not trying to be rude to you because I just noticed you're a man. I was like, ugh.
Well, my penis is inside right now.
Yeah. But that's to me. Yeah, that's a man's courage, and that's fine because I come at it as I can't change the fact that I'm female. I've tried. But a man's courage is, I'm gonna. Well, they love it. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna, and I think I could speak more for as a woman. We're like, I'm sure gonna work on what I've tried, and I'm gonna. It's called being humble. He's writing a note. He's like, wait. What's humble? Do you want me to spell it for you? You got it.
Wrote woman in comedy.
And I mean, and I'm not like guys are this is it. Being a former police officer, I have 2 older brothers. Like I've been around guys all my life. Like I love a dick, but it's a different approach. It's like I'm probably gonna do well, and women are like, I'm probably gonna eat shit.
Yeah.
And then we do well, and we're like, what? And then we're like, that probably wasn't even that good. So it's just a different approach. It's just a
flip, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing sometimes I don't like about the mics is I'll be like, okay, I've got a big show. In my head, I'll be like, it's a big show.
I know.
So I'll go run my 5. But they've heard it. They've heard a lot of the bits before. And then no one laughs. And you go,
I know.
To what you're saying, you're
I'm
like,
a failure. I'm never gonna.
None of this is funny.
None of this is funny. So that's a huge reason I don't do mics is I feel worse about my tried and true stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so.
You're like, I failed at all of this.
So I'm starting to set kind of like goals for myself at a mic or a show where I try a bit. It's what can I do to save it, dig out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel good when I deliver it.
Okay.
How am I gonna dig myself out of that uncomfortable feeling? Where you don't blame the room, where you're like,
I can't.
Wow, I thought you guys came here to laugh.
I hate when comics do that.
Don't do it, you guys.
Or they do the line where they're like, well, I already got paid, so I don't really care.
I've never heard
just,
that.
Oh, I've heard it. When I first moved to New York, I actually heard it a lot. Because I
Is
remember,
that from women?
No, just like comics in general. I remember.
It's not ever from a woman. You were never going to hear her say that.
No, I actually did hear a woman say it too. She
Okay.
was a black woman.
I don't see color, so.
Just countries of origin. Mm-hmm. Ethiopia.
I'll let you finish your story, please. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just like, I don't ever like to do that because it's our job. That's what our job is to
just,
win the room over. So figure it out, stupid.
Yeah. It's insecurity, and I mean, we all have it.
Yeah.
I've done. I mean, it's human. We're fully human up there, and it's uncomfortable.
Especially
but we
when
chose
you're
to stand up there.
completely vulnerable, and then they're just staring at you.
Yeah. You're like, here's some facts about my life I want to share. Not interested? All right.
Cool. I have a bit where I talk about butt stuff, like being into butt stuff, but now that I'm sober, I never ask about butt stuff. And I wrote
You just do it.
And I'm like, it's weird. Anyway, it's a whole bit. It's a very funny bit. It's gotten a lot of it's gotten a lot of views.
Nuances. It's a multi-layered.
But I will do that at shows sometimes, and people will just stare. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is for me to be like talking about like as a 36-year-old dude, like, I do like butt stuff.
Yeah.
And like people will just be like, and it's like, oh, you're supposed to laugh here to make me feel better about saying this.
Hi, I'm exposed.
Or
and they're like, I know, put your pants back on.
Or else it's just to do a TED Talk.
Oh, I know. Oh, try talking about your breast cancer journey, and they're just like,
yeah, I couldn't imagine.
you're like, so how about those bears? Yeah. So I had to learn how to make it safe to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on it, obviously. But
Yeah, we're all working on it. Let's
Yeah.
get into some of the stuff.
Let's get into let's get into the debauchery.
Let's get into some debauchery. So you sent me some stories, but I did want to ask you a couple of questions. We got plenty of time. So,
yeah.
you grew up in San Francisco.
Bay Area.
Yeah, the Bay Area. Shout out
you
Golden
been?
State. No.
Golden Shower. What?
Golden State Warriors. They're from the Bay Area.
Steph Curry, friend of the pod.
Your pod?
I was hoping this one.
No.
Eh.
I thought he was friends to the late to the game pod.
Nope.
Even though he's been playing basketball since he could walk.
Yeah.
He was actually early to the game.
But I'm late to game in basketball because I've never played.
That's true.
Okay.
Maybe
So, yes.
we'll get you to the NBA.
Mm-hmm. The WNBA.
I'm sorry, what?
I brought my daughter to a WNBA game recently.
Just kidding. I have a fantasy league. So
Thank you.
I'm
She's
very
a queer girl, my daughter. She's
Which one? The older?
My oldest one. Yeah. And she said, Mom.
I was going to make
I know. I was too. We took a pause. We realized we're mature and we can do
We
this.
both wanted to
We were like-
fire off that joke.
Yes, and she was at. It was.
Like
she
a
came
couple
to
of
visit.
gunslingers in the West. We just stared at each other for a second.
like-
We're like, put it away. Put
Well,
it
it
away.
was hard because mine was gonna be funnier, so I was like, "Don't do it." So I took her to a WNBA game when she was here. My girls came to visit. For
The
a week
Liberty?
in the beginning, yeah.
Great team.
Great
They're
team,
stacked.
great team. Well,
Brianna
her
Stewart,
aspect
Courtney
was,
Vandersloot.
Mom, I've never been around so many lesbians. That
Was she excited?
She was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't watch her get all like, oh yeah, but she said she was. And
Good.
she's an athlete, so she
you said that.
She throws discus in college.
You said she.
D2. Yeah, no, it's my daughter. Okay. But she's an adult now, so go ahead and sexually harass her. It's legally okay.
You said she's an athlete, and I said, yeah, you said that already because you said
She was a lesbian.
yes.
No, I'm just gonna let you sit in it and see how you dig out of this. Go ahead. Crush it. Go ahead.
You know, I was a former Division I athlete.
I do know that. You mention it every time you do a set. Why do you think I'm here? I was like, this guy was D1.
Where does? Oh, don't say where she plays, but is it on the West Coast?
Colorado.
Oh, okay. Oh,
She
cool.
throws discus.
Yeah. Is she? She want to do Olympics?
I said she was a lesbian. Back off. She's not interested.
She doesn't want to do the Olympics.
She's not interested in you, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nobody's interested
No,
in it.
I mean, would she want to? Yes, she's not. She knows that she won't hit that level. You know,
really?
She's already 19, and she's not in D1 like some people.
Hey.
Hey, no, she loves the study of being an athlete. She
Yeah.
likes to eat right and do all this shit. I'm like, what's that like? So anyway,
Does
I don't
she ever
remember
give
what
you
you're.
shit?
She's.
Like you're like, hey, let's go get pizza. She's like, Mom.
You're fat. No, she's not funny. She takes after her dad.
Ah, understood.
Yeah. My Ethiopian daughter's funny. I was like, hey.
Yeah.
Nature versus nurture.
Takes after her mom.
But I'm like, there's two people in Ethiopia just popping off, just telling jokes. Dumely the one about the goat. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought that was me. You were asking me questions, but I don't remember.
About
I'm
your
sorry.
upbringing in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So when did you? Was your family strict? Because you said your mom was a social worker and your dad was a cop. Were they pretty strict?
No, the strictness, the
Discipline.
theme of the household more came from being raised in a Christian family. Than,
Okay.
Yeah, the cop police part of my dad, you would never know. That didn't enter into anything other than he was everybody's favorite. Like, oh, I'll watch your gate while you're away for the week.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, sometimes I've been around cops, and not being arrested aspects of my life.
That's so fun.
But they can get after it. Like I know there was this one very pretty
Getting it after it right now.
law enforcement officer in
Oh.
Daytona.
I'm enjoying the look of your jib, man.
But her and I kind of, you know,
Talked about business.
yeah. But I remember I was like 18 or 19 and she was
Oh,
like
schwing.
in her late 20s.
Well,
And
the
we went to like a
fantasy.
cop party thing. And the dudes hated me because they're like, "Who the?" No, I was 18.
No, they're like, "You don't bring sand to the beach."
Yeah, they were like, "Yeah, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah,
Who the
yeah.
fuck?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm training to go play college football and
Brandon,
blah blah blah."
D1, bitches.
And they were like, "Fuck you!" And then I remember she had a couple of drinks. And then we left the party, and she was flying down A1A, and it's 35 in Daytona, and she was going like 70 down A1A.
Not when you have the magic badge.
And then that's what happened. She got pulled over,
I
had
just-
a couple of drinks, was flying down, and then the cop walked up, and she just put her badge out. And they went, "All right, slow down." And she was like, "Yeah, my bad."
We call that flapping your vag, not your badge.
Oh, okay. Ew, we did that later.
We just made that up. Actually, my comedian friend and I made that up last night as we were walking around.
Flashing your
She's like,
badge.
did you ever like flap your badge? I was like, no, I flapped my vag. And then, anyway,
Is that like a thing?
No.
Like with cops, party animals?
I'm sure there's an aspect of that. That was not my world.
Okay. And so that wasn't, your dad was more like.
Oh,
like,
no, yeah, no. Like, not a piece of shit. Yeah. A regular guy. Yeah, no, my dad's like one of the best people I know.
That's awesome.
I don't know a lot of people, but
You know some people. Yeah.
oh, getting
In
to
the
know
biblical
others.
sense.
So yes, it was more of like it wasn't like we were raised. I mean, we had to wear bonnets, but it wasn't like
No, you didn't.
my brothers did.
Oh,
We were
you're
raised
no good
in
at the
a
riffing. I never know what's real and
suburb.
what's
I
fake.
know. I like to keep you off balance. It's my Jimmy jam. So we no, it was a fun. We got to do what we wanted. I mean,
Okay.
I drank in high school.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I did, but I did it safely. Like we would do, like my friend. I'm not gonna say her name, but it rhymes with Missy. That's her name.
Yeah, I figured.
She would house sit a lot, and then we would just go over and like drink wine coolers or
Yeah.
Bartles and James.
Bartles
Shout
and
out to
James.
B&J. That was the first BJ in my life.
When did you start? Were you like popular in high school? Did you like go and party all the time? Like,
Wow, I didn't
how
know
did
we were
that
going to
even-
get to if I was popular in high school or not.
Well, but the reason I asked that is because I was not. So I didn't start drinking
no,
until
I-
late.
I can tell.
Fuck off. I didn't start drinking until late in my senior year because I wasn't like the guy.
Yeah.
But my siblings were incredibly popular
Yeah.
and went to parties all
Yeah.
the time. So whenever I have guests on, it's always interesting to me to figure out like.
Yeah. I didn't go to house parties. I wasn't invited to them.
So no, you weren't popular.
I'll finish this sentence. Thank you. I've got it. Sit back and listen. I'm the guest. Wow. I didn't care about it. Why would I hang out with
what
them
they all
when
say.
I didn't want to go to them. They were so dumb. Who wants to do all that fun stuff in high school? No, what we did do is we TP'd the house of the parties every once in a while.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, fuck them. But we would more drink when we were, my friend was house sitting, and we would just go over there and just chill.
Just you and her?
And a bunch of dudes. No, it was just a couple friends. I didn't drink a lot in high school.
Okay.
And if it did, there was no drinking and driving. It just, we had enough resources around us to do it safely.
Yeah, that's
And
smart.
also, I had two older brothers. My oldest one, who was also a police officer.
Oh wow. Runs in the family.
That's right, family biz. He had some. He made some different choices than I
Got
did,
it.
and so I saw that he got in some trouble, and I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
How do I do this in a way that's safe and I can still have fun? And I did a little bit more partying in college.
I was gonna ask when you get to UC Davis. are
Yeah,
you like,
I went to
let's
junior
go?
college for 2 years,
Okay.
and then so still living at home, loser. And then I went to UC Davis for the remaining 2 years. But I always had it in the back of my head that I would probably either be in law enforcement, do something with civil service. I kind of knew that was where I was
Okay.
headed. And that if you do too much, you got to explain it all in your background check.
Yeah.
It's like, because I had a dad who was in it. And it's like, I knew.
Yeah.
And it just it wasn't worth it. Plus, I didn't have enough time. I was 24 when I got hired. So it's like, how much? I'm like,
Yeah. Just
yeah. Yeah. Apparently that's what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
lot of it.
So, yeah, mostly. Yeah. So I,
Two.
yeah,
As it
I
were.
know. I just learned about that. Not a big fan, but yeah, and then for years.
It's one of those things where like it happens and you're like, oh, in the moment you're like hot, and then the next day you're like, you're kind of disgusting.
Yeah, wipe that off.
Fucking big.
I haven't had sex in so long. I forget. I remember it's like riding a bicycle, I think.
Yeah. Riding a horse, I believe, is.
Is that what somebody told you? It's like riding a Schwinn, Brennan.
Oh, no. For me, it's like riding one of those little mini bikes.
Hobby horses.
Like one of the little mini bikes.
Yeah. My mom's going to listen to this, so let's move on. I hope. Friend of the pod.
Does your mom listen? She listens to everything you do?
No. She's come to some of my shows. When I've done them in the Bay Area. I have a run of them coming up next month. So I'll...
It's just a huge run. Shout it out. We've got some listeners
I'll be crushing it. Oh, we'll post it. We'll tag it.
We'll tag it. We'll post it. We'll do the whole thing.
I mean, that's where I'm from, so I got some people.
You're like, don't worry, the shows will sell out.
Yeah, I'm a draw. I have a 5-minute guest spot on one. They're coming.
So you get to UC Davis, and then you knew, like, I don't.
And so I think I smoked marijuana there a couple times, and then I was like, I heard it's a gateway drug, so I don't need to do more. I'm already. You can see I'm super shy. So I was like, how am I going to be so outgoing without drugs? People are like, don't take anything. Like somebody said to me, they're like, don't take drugs. We're afraid you'll talk more. What you want is a downer. I was like, no, what you want me to have is a downer. I'm not interested.
Here, try this heroin.
Yeah. I'm all, I don't like it.
I'm
on the nod. They're like, yeah, shh.
Sleep now.
Sleep now, yeah. And sleep. So... after I became a police officer for a year, I never did anything.
Yeah.
And then when I medically retired, I was like,
I'm going to start doing stuff.
Yeah. It was
when you were a police officer, did you see, I mean, you had mentioned it earlier, but did you see, like, you must have seen people, because I've been arrested a lot, like, and it's because I've been drunk and doing fucked up shit. Did you see a lot of, like bar fights and like drunk and disorderlies?
I was with the transit agency. So I was with BART. Have you been to the Bay Area? Okay. So it's Bay Area Rapid Transit. Shout out to my old paycheck. Hey. Actually, it's still my paycheck.
Yeah. Shout out to that pension.
Fuck you. So it was transitory. So like I would have 3 stations were my beat. And then so you would drive in between them. Then you would patrol the parking lots, and then you would cover your nearby officers. So I was pulling people over, and so usually people are not driving to a transit station drunk.
Yeah.
They're the ones being picked up.
Yeah.
So we would get drunk driving arrests in between stations on the freeway.
I could imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of like they'd be driving like a maniac, and you're all right, I guess I gotta pull you over, dude.
So I wanted to ask you about this.
I was just trying to get to the station, idiot. And now you're...
This is something that I actually used to say when my drinking was really bad post-college football, but before I graduated. Whenever we would go somewhere, we would be like, I'd be like, we have to take I-95.
Yeah.
And all my friends were like, no, that's stupid. We're all drunk. Let's take the back roads. And I go, no, you take the highway, because if you stay in the right lane and just go the speed limit, the cops aren't, like, unless it's a state trooper, they're not paying. They're like going somewhere.
We're going
they're not
to
paying
get
attention.
donuts. Yeah. What I love about what you just said, if we can take a minute, is how you strategized how to drive drunk instead of just taking a taxi. Or you're like, all right, guys, I got it figured out.
I was a dumb kid.
Yeah. Well, you were an adult.
Well, according to the state, I was an adult.
Let's take accountability. But yeah.
No, I mean, it was never, we don't condone drinking and driving on this podcast. We've talked about it many times.
Gross.
It was stupid. It ruined my life.
Yeah. Luckily, you didn't kill someone.
Luckily, I didn't kill anybody. And I have, people in my life that I know from meetings of a super secret variety where they have killed people. And it's a terrible thing. But it isn't.
But logistically, yes.
Logistically.
If they're just trucking along, driving. But the thing is, when someone's drunk, they're not thinking that way. Yeah. They're like, I'm going so slow. And you're like, you're actually tailgating me to the point where I have to pull you over. Yeah. So you don't know how to act. You're overcompensating when you're
What goes through your head? Because I've been on the other side of it. What goes through your head when someone's that fucked up? Are you just like, God damn it?
Yeah. You're irritated.
Okay.
And then when you have to do this field sobriety test.
Because I'm.
Let's get into FSTs.
Yeah. Let's talk about it from the other side.
Let me recross my legs. Okay. What do you want to know?
I've seen it from my perspective.
This is going to be fun.
Where I've been like,
should we do some?
I'm fine, officer.
The
first time I got a DUI, I literally was like, I have a injury from football. I can't walk a straight line. Like my hip and leg is all fucked up.
I love this. I'm going to totally break it down for you.
And they were like,
do you know the threat? Do you know why none of that fucking matters.
No, I don't even know how to explain it. How does it?
So we're
Hang on, I
not.
gotta write
We,
this down.
is gonna be the best podcast episode you ever did have. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for all the talking around it. They're looking.
So the fact that I was like, oh, I have a football.
I got this, and then
They were like, you're hammered.
the whole thing is the test. He's like,
The test is the test.
test!
Ah!
this is existential day on the podcast. So it's like, okay, I want you to walk the straight line. The walking is fine. Listen, for an average person who's not drunk, they just walk, and then they might not do heel toe, but they're gonna try.
Yeah.
They're gonna attempt, and the people that are drunk are like, "Can you do the instructions one more time?" And you're like, "Sure." Yeah.
The test is the
The
test.
test is the test. Or the one, did you do this? I can't. Hold on. I'll hold it with my tits real quick. Did you ever do this
No.
one? Oh.
What's that one?
It's just a I don't know what they call it. This looks good. I don't know what they call it, but it's somebody would mic stand? Yeah. Tit stand, kick stand. I don't remember
We're
what
not
it's
picking up any of your audio.
It's not picking it up. Sorry. Oh, well, I was trying to make this the best podcast, but I guess you don't want to. Or they do that. I mean, if this was
I get what you're saying.
it's all that, or they
But what
do
is-
the
what
Johnny
is-
Whoops. They do all these different.
So mine, from what
Yeah, tell me
from
what
what I
you did.
remember, they pulled me over, asked me to step out of the car, and apparently they had been. And I found out this later from the officer, but they had been watching me since I left the bar.
Oh,
So there's
really?
this bar called O'Brien's in
I
the
find that hard to believe.
Delray area. Well, that's what he told me. He was like, "We saw you leave." But there's
Okay.
this bar in it's called O'Brien's in Delray, and their whole thing was every Thursday they would do half off everything, top shelf, bottom shelf, everything. So it was buy one get one free. So a lot of times, a lot of us got DUIs leaving there because we would
We're
all
cheap.
leave hammered and
Yeah.
we're cheap. And I remember they pulled me over and I pulled into a 7-Eleven and they asked me to get out of the car and I was like, "There's no need for that."
How long do you think you drove for?
I can tell you exactly how long I drove for. I drove for like 12 minutes because the 7-Eleven, I was almost home, as it always happens.
So close.
I was looking at the light that I would make the right on.
But I needed a Snapple. I had to
Well,
stop.
so I was stopped at a red light, and I was with a girl from work, and the light was red, and I was trying to make a move, and this is after football, and I'm super fat.
Let
and
me
out of
figure
shape,
this
and-
girl real quick before I get home.
I'm just a mess. So I go in to kiss her. She kisses me.
Oh.
The light apparently turns green. The cops are behind me. I don't realize it. And then I turn. I go, oh, shit. And I start going. As soon as I pulled through the light, they lit me up because they were like endangerment or something because I was stopped at a green light. That's what they pulled me over for. And then they were like, oh.
Impeding.
Impeding. Okay, that's what it was.
I'm so legit.
And then...
I'm too legit to quit.
But then they pulled me over. They asked me to get out of the car, and I'm like trying to talk my way out of it. So they already knew.
You're charming. You're charming.
Now that we were talking
Yeah.
about it, they already knew. The second I was like, wait, let's talk about this.
Guys, hold on.
And
I
then
was D1.
They asked me to do the heel to toe thing, and I was like, oh, I messed up my leg in football. I can't walk a straight line. And they were like, all right, man. And then this is when they asked me what my occupation was, and I said comedian because I had started doing open mics.
Oh,
And
that
the-
usually gets people off. Maybe you weren't that funny.
And then they asked me to do, this is the big one, they asked me to do the ABCs with no melody.
And you're like, I'm a showgirl at heart. I can't do it.
I was like, okay, no problem. A, B, C,
That's hard
D,
for anybody.
E, F, G, A. And they went,
You're
no,
like,
no, no, no.
H-I-J-K-L-M-N-O-P.
They're like, no melody.
Yeah.
And that was very
I've
difficult.
never heard of that no
Yeah.
melody one.
Every time you get to LMNOP, you can't help but go LMNOP,
Well, I can.
LM.
N-O-P. So the test was the test. You were probably like, QRS. And then, and most people, X. And most people who are pulled over under an authoritative tension aren't singing.
That's true. I didn't even think the test is the
That's because you were drunk. You're like, let me show these guys my octave.
A, B, C.
Is this thing on?
D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
the test is
they,
the test.
They tagged
The
me.
test is the
And
test.
then the guy was like, he was kind of a dick about it in the sense that I was like, hey, my car's at a 7-Eleven. It's 24/7. Can I just leave my car here? And he's like, no, we're going to tow it. And I go, but we're like, it's parked in a parking lot of a 24-hour place. Like, can I just leave it? And he's like, I would leave it, but my Sarge is on his way, and he's going to make us tow it. And I was like, come on, man.
Well, I mean, I can tell you what I could think about that, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
no, go. Well, what?
Yeah, you're like, let's demonize him because it was me that was the problem. No, I'm kidding.
The second DUI I got was at a Walmart, and they were like, they left the car. I came back 6 days later because it was in the middle of a hurricane,
and people were living in it.
My car was still there, living in it, but still there.
I really love the classy places you're picking to drink and drive. Next I was at a Piggly Wiggly.
You know what?
You know what? And then I headed on down to an Applebee's and really let it rip.
I don't do it anymore. I'm sober now.
No, I'm proud of you. No, I am. I that sounded rude. I'm glad that you made a change that's working for your life. I'm being.
Okay,
I know everyone's like, she's a real bitch, and it makes me nervous.
Because you've kept me on my toes for this long. I'm
it's
like,
fun
where
though,
is
isn't
it?
it?
Where is it? Where's
Peekaboo.
the bit? Where's the bit?
There's empathy. Peekaboo. No, I'm glad that you made that change. It's tough. I mean, I've driven under the influence before. Just after like a vodka gimlet, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so sexy.
I'm dirty.
I know, and I'm like, is it because I'm so sexy or because I'm buzzed? So I just like, could be either.
Did you ever have to deal with like doing the transit thing? Did you ever have to deal with anything? Like it was
transitory?
Like you said, the transitory. You said it was just kind of
there was
the station to station to station.
I mean, we were dealing with a lot of people. Like if you worked at night, if you worked during the day, you're mostly getting commuters.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Like the subway or whatever. But at night, they say freaks come out at night. So you're dealing with people
you're
that
working there, baby.
Don't. You're dealing with people who don't have licenses for reasons such as they've made poor choices, or you're dealing with vagrants, or you're dealing. If that's where all the different walks of life people crush, and that's when people are getting robbed or whatever, opportunity crimes and all that.
And then you're just out there.
I'm just like, I'm gonna bust your ass. And I worked a plainclothes assignment, or we worked plainclothes and undercover for some of that.
Oh, really?
2 years on the trains, no car, with a team, and we just got to go out and do special enforcement, and then like. There were people like there was like one guy like masturbating on the train. Oh, he's gonna check out again. He's in different cities. Let's get him. And so I would dress with like a little hat and a little Disney backpack, coming. I'm so naughty. I hope no one masturbates near me. And then
did you catch him?
Yeah.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, we dated for 7 years. We did catch.
Did he fell for the Disney princess?
It was
the backpack?
It was him. We already had they call it a BOL. I don't want to get all acronymy on
Bolo?
you. Yeah.
Sorry.
We called it a BOL. A bolo is BOLO. But yeah, which I don't understand.
But they say bolo.
I know, but it's be on the lookout.
Put a bolo.
Yeah, but we called it a BOL.
Oh, look out.
I know.
Found it. I found it after you, but we found it.
Yeah, I had it. And so we already knew his description. So he wasn't actively Yankee. He's wanky. We just
you forced him to.
Saw. I was like, pull it out, Dave. Let's get into it. He was. He matched the description, so we arrested him. So we had probable cause because he already was. You're under arrest, asshole.
Did you ever fucking? You're under arrest, asshole.
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me. Couple times.
You were the asshole.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I
remember. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
please.
This
I'm
is a
here
very
all
strong
day.
empowerment.
I mean, I'm only on this one time, and you do it every time. Go ahead.
I had a woman officer come to our apartment when we were having a party one time, and I was pre-law, so I thought I knew everything. You know those fucking assholes.
Oh, I would have hated you so much.
And she was like, "Oh, we're coming into this house, and we're going to arrest anybody who's under 21." And I said, "Do you have a warrant?" And she said, "No." And I slammed the door in her face. And then thinking that everything was soundproof, I looked up the stairs because it was one of those places where you walk down the stairs to go through the front door.
Sure.
I look up the stairs to my roommates and everybody at the party. I go, "Can you believe this bitch wants to come into our fucking house without a warrant? What a dumb bitch." And then literally like 20 minutes later, there was just a soft knock on the door. And I was like, "Oh, there's my Domino's.
Soft knock.
There's my Domino's pizza." And I opened the door and she ripped me out, slammed me on the pavement, put her knee in the back of my neck, and she leaned in and she goes, "Who's the bitch now?"
Oh, and we would masturbate to that kind of stuff later. I can't believe I just said that. Cut that out. I was. I mean, should we? I can tell. I was working a plainclothes assignment where people were doing money on a string into the machines to get tickets out, and then they would sell the tickets, the BART tickets. And it was like you could buy a $20 ticket, so they would just keep doing those and then sell them for $5. People, whatever. So we were working plainclothes, and the guy was doing it, and me and my partner had been on the job for a while. And I was, it's like, oh my God, I see him.
He's doing it.
You guys look at him. And so I was, undercover or whatever. I was probably wearing something slutty. And I was like, boop, boop, boop. And he turned around and like, is that ticket for sale? Whatever. And he tried to sell it to me. And then as soon as the transaction was made, I was like, freeze, motherfucker. And he went to go run, and he was a slight man. I didn't realize
you just fucking threw him into the wall.
Grabbed a little guy by the shoulders, his shirt, and I just sailed him into the air.
I'm sailing away.
Ooh, that was horrible. Me, you were good.
No, nasally.
I also know you know how to do ABCs with a melody, so I don't mess around with your songs. I flew him into the air, and this BART station was enrobed in a marble flooring. And his skull opened up right on that floor. And I just walked away. I was like, you deserved it, idiot. And I just was like, pfft. And I put dirt in his skull, and I walked away. And then my partner said, for next time, you have to say, freeze, police. You have to identify. And I was like, oops. So I was like,
excuse me.
May I help you up? It's not a violation of the rights, and I don't want you to write in, only if you're going to follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, follow her on Instagram.
Follow me on IG.
Speaking of helping people,
this
is the last story I want to get into.
Okay.
You saved someone.
Okay, well.
Here, in the city.
I'm a hero again. God, it's a theme. You want me to tell you the story?
I
was walking home from the world-famous Comedy Cellar. I don't perform there because...
I have performed there.
Well, they're open mic night. We don't...
Wow.
So I was walking home from a show.
Mic.
I know it wasn't. I know you're going to save yourself and you're D1. We got it. So I'm proud of you. I am proud of you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Someday I would like to do that.
Well, this was fun. I mean, no.
Yeah. And it's a wrap. I was walking home from a show a couple weeks ago. It was late at night. People
God,
like,
I keep forgetting you've been here for
a minute. Yeah, and it's funny just having me on this now.
Hey, I asked you last week.
Okay, so I'm walking home, and there's and it turns out it's the guy is with his girlfriend. The girlfriend is on the ground. It's an younger Asian couple, probably in their late 20s. The guy's standing up, an Asian gentleman, and he's standing over this woman. And I round the corner. I didn't think he was doing anything to her. The story came out that he was standing over her because she had been drinking with her girlfriends, and they texted him. They're like, Sabrina's like so drunk we can't get her home. Like, we don't know what to do. So he came to come help bring her back to her apartment. She couldn't even walk. She was so hammered. So she's on the ground. This is over in the East Village. She's on the ground, and he's standing over her, and people are starting to like, hey, what's wrong with her? And I was like, I'm Mandy. I used to be a police officer. More importantly, I'm a comedian. If you follow me, I was like, this isn't the right time, but we'll get back into it. And so, I was like, late to the game, Pod. Are you a follower? But we talked about it later. But I was like, let me stand with you. This doesn't look good. As a female, let me just be with you while we're sorting this out. So eventually, I helped him come to a conclusion that calling the ambulance was a good idea. He was nervous. He didn't want to get her in trouble. All that stuff.
Oh, so. She couldn't even walk, but he was just like, I'll pick her up and like just drag her home.
Well, he's like, I'm going to get an Uber. And I was like, I don't remember his name. I think it's Ryan. Nice guy, very nervous. He loves this girl and doesn't want to do wrong by her later. Cause the girlfriend's like, that was fucked up, Ryan. Like, you got me in so much trouble. He's like, I'm going to get an Uber. And I was like, let's work this out. What's it going to look like? Yeah. She can't walk at all. They're not going to take her. You look like you're shoving this girl that you're going to
young woman
come rape in the...
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, you think so? And anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
But he was nervous. So we bounced off, and eventually I was like, I think an ambulance may be a good idea just to get her checked out. So he called one, and we were waiting, and like... I had been doing kind of sternum rubs on, sternum rub is just to make... She was just like... So she was breathing, and she was fine, and we turned her on her side in case she threw up and choked out and died. And I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I'm coming from a comedy show. So we waited for the ambulance.
Follow the podcast.
Thank you. We were waiting for the ambulance to come, and this white man stumbles up to us, and he's like in his mid-30s. So I was like, all these senses are happening. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's up? And he's like, what's wrong with her? And I'm like, oh, we got it covered. And he goes to touch her. And I was like, oh, no, we got it. And he's fucking bitch. And
To you?
To me, I was like, oh, that's not nice. And then he went back in to touch her. And I think his intention was to be helpful. I don't think he was like, let me give her what she deserves. And the boyfriend
That's
was,
the title of the
boyfriend,
episode.
let me give her what she deserves. As a woman, let's not do that one. Let me put her in her place and fuck her when she's down. I like that. Can you write that down? So anyway, he's trying let me give her what she So he's trying to touch her, and the boyfriend's like hiding behind me, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
I've taken
He's a
over the
little
scene.
timid. Yeah,
He's a little bitch.
It's your jurisdiction now.
I was like, I'm on patrol. And I come with an air of confidence. So I'm just like, I got this, okay? And then the guy takes a swing on the boyfriend.
Wait. So
I
he
know.
goes to touch the girl again, and you're like, back off.
Back off. And I'm sure the guy, behind me, I'm sure the boyfriend's like, hey, man,
Yeah.
don't. I didn't hear all of it. And then he's like, and he goes to swing on the boyfriend and just connects lightly on the boyfriend's shoulders. And the boyfriend's like, oh, my God. No. And then I'm like, what? And I'm kind of positioning myself now in front of the boyfriend and the girlfriend because I'm, well, it all happens so fast. It's not
Yeah.
like, I did clip on a cape. I was like, just a minute. Let me
Gotta
get
pull
this
it out
on.
of your purse.
And then I carry it everywhere. And
As you should.
Then
You're a
he went and cocked back to swing on me, but I could see it coming, so I was like, "Rrr." But he punched me in the face.
Did you take him down? Take him out?
Don't be dramatic.
Did you crack his skull?
I made out with him. It was so hot. I was like, choke me next. No, he probably saw, like, I became like a bear. I was like, "Rrr!" Whatever. I was probably like, bro, what? I don't know what I said in the moment. Then he scampered away.
Oh.
So what am I going to chase him? Stop
No.
bothering us. And then I chased him down.
Chase.
I said stop. And he's like, back off. So I got punched in the face my first week. And I was like,
Saving a woman's life.
welcome to New York. It's the New York experience.
That is a New
I was
York
like, is this part of the tourist package?
This was fun.
You get your Go New York card and also a punch in the
a
face.
punch in the face. And then you save a woman from dying from
Yeah.
alcohol poisoning.
I mean, I feel like, where's my key to the city?
Yeah, I remember the first big thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
A woman was choking at the restaurant, and I saved her. And I
Heard, no, I love it.
well, I have a bit about
oh,
it.
maybe
So you
that's
might,
why.
yeah.
That's why.
But I saved her, and I was like, oh, this is it. Like all these big shows in New York, like Good Morning America has like fucking people on who,
Where are they?
like, yeah, they're like,
Do nothing.
yeah,
Kitten in a tree.
yeah, like get out of here. I was
did
like, I
the
saved this woman's
Heimlich.
life.
Nothing.
Nothing. And I was like, oh, that's New York. You just save people's lives, and nobody
Yeah,
gives
you
a
just get
shit.
punched in the face as a beautiful, beautiful woman on the
Young
street.
woman.
Well, beautiful. I don't know about young. So, and I didn't bruise, I think, because God knew.
Yeah,
This face is not for radio. I know.
we're live.
Yeah.
4K,
So
baby.
that's, yeah.
Can't believe you're out here saving lives. This was fun.
I kind of can.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, this is amazing.
You're a hero.
Thank you. Thrice.
Thrice.
Thrice
Three
a hero.
times.
Yeah.
Plug
Thank you.
everything one more time.
Late to the Game Pod. It's on all the platforms. I'm Mandy Simonson, and it's Musings a la Mandy. There's some underscores in there, but
We'll tag it.
we'll tag
link
it.
We'll
we're
link it in the show notes.
we're tagging after this. And then I'll be at a stage near you. I mean, someday I'd love to come back to New York and live here and do comedy.
Yeah.
So,
we'd love to have you.
yeah.
We need you. The
Do you
city
need a
needs
roommate? Maybe.
The city needs you. You can have
Obviously.
this room. I'm moving
Yeah.
out.
Oh, gross. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. At Brennan T. Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the merch store, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.